What's up, everybody? This is Toru, and in a way, so are you. Welcome back to another episode of ProducerHead. Today, very stoked to show you that we got Shrimpnose on the show. Welcome, man.
Hello.
What's up, man? Coming in live from LA. Let's drop right in to the listening room. What's the first track that you have for us, man?
I'm gonna do many times by Dijon.
By Dijon. I don't. Cool.
It's not electronic at all, but it's a song I like.
I'm assuming I can find this on Spotify.
Yeah, yep. Dijon like mustard.
That's what's up. All right, man. So here we got Many Times by Dijon in 3, 2, 1.
There you go again, head low, putting on a show again. It's the holidays, how come it always ends this way? You can't take that pressure off you just to put it on me. Talking to your friends on the phone, airing our dirty laundry. Strawberry, raspberry, candlelight, satellite, television, x-ray vision. What's it gonna take for you to listen? Well, you can change your mind now, but you can't change your decision. You can change your mind now, but you can't change your decision. Cause I don't really wanna talk about it. Many times you hurt me so much. Many times you hurt me so much. There you go again, putting on your own rodeo again. Then you push me out just to flash that smile and last over again. Well, I've been here 1,000 times, I don't wanna go again. I've been here 1,000 times, 1,001 won't be so bad. Well, strawberry, raspberry, candlelight, satellite, television, x-ray vision. Oh, what's it gonna take for you to listen? You can change your mind now, but you can't change your decision. You can change your mind now, but you can't change your decision. I don't really wanna talk about it. So many times you hurt me so much. So many times you hurt me so much. I don't really wanna talk about it. So many times you hurt me so much. So many times you said it was over. I wanna talk about it. I don't really wanna talk about it. I don't wanna talk about it.
Wow, dude, I've never heard that song. So tell us about Many Times by Dijon.
I got put on to Dijon by some friends of mine. Shout out ASO, the producer ASO. Yeah, I don't know. Dijon is really great. He's kind of like pushing songwriting in a new direction, which I really like. The instrumentation is really incredible in that song. The drums, the piano, his vocal delivery is really crazy too. Yeah, I don't know. He's just great.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, is there any reason you picked that song in particular?
Probably my favorite one of his. It is a popular song of his.
Yeah.
So it's not like a deep cut or anything from him, but
Yeah.
I'm a sad guy. It's a sad song.
Is he playing all the instruments on that?
No, he so are you familiar with McGee?
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played the piano and the guitar on that one.
Oh, no way.
He's like, they work together a ton. He's like his main producer
Wow.
guy.
I didn't
guess.
know that, man. Yeah, I love McGee is so dope. His drums are always so crazy. So I'm surprised that he's not. So he didn't do the drums on this though. He just did piano and guitar.
Not to my knowledge, because there's a live performance video of that song.
Yeah.
He actually did like a live performance album thing. It's like a house. It's basically them just playing through the album.
Oh wow, cool.
And I guess McGee didn't play the drums on that, but it was because he was playing other things.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if he did on the recording or not, but you know.
That's really dope. The sounds on that are just so crazy, man. Like guitar processing, the way the bass is processed, it just feels like a crazy mix of like a clash of multiple genres, and it works, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point, like the vocals are
very
so unique.
much so. I've heard people compare his voice to Bon Iver.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's got the same kind of like tonal quality.
for sure. If I remember
Yeah.
correctly, you're a big Bon Iver fan too, no?
Yeah, that's actually going to be another one of my picks.
Right on, man. All right, yeah, well then with that, let's drop into it, man. What's the next
Okay.
one you got for us?
It's technically just Justin Vernon, not Bon Iver, but it's called Hazeltons by Justin Vernon.
Hazelton by Justin Vernon in 3, 2, 1.
Settle up, we're calling up the pain. Still ain't left to single out the string. You came, you saw her brain. You cut out all the parts that held your stain. Still inclined, you're building wide the blame. Just crying now, you're climbing down your claim. Sitting up, you're counting up your names. Singing up to bend him off the frame. You came, you saw her brain. Cut out all the parts that held your stain. You clipped your cloth to no applause. You lost the will and bought the lying gauze. So try to be somebody. 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 You run. So try to be somebody. You run. So try to be somebody. You run. So try to be somebody.
Hazelton by Justin Vernon. What made you bring that track to us today, man?
I'm a big Bon Iver, Justin Vernon fan. And he released that like maybe a little over a year ago. And I've been getting more into folk music, and I really love how stripped back it is. Basically just guitar and his voice. And yeah, once again, I'm just a sad guy. I like sad songs.
Would you consider the music that you make sad?
What'd you say?
Would you consider the music that you make to be sad?
It just is de facto, I think, a lot of the time. Not every song is, but ends up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, his songwriting is really incredible. I love his voice. His guitar playing is super unique. I saw him play about a year ago, and it was the best live show I've ever seen, hands down. I cried. I've never cried at a live show besides that one.
Wow. Was it Bon Iver or was it the solo project?
Bon Iver.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yep, he played that song, though.
Nice. Where did you see him?
In Duluth, Minnesota.
Oh, wow. Cool.
He was
Yeah.
up on Lake Superior. It was like a festival kind of thing. It was really great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, he's a super talented. I forget where I was listening. I was listening to something. This is a while back, but he had like a really cool kind of cabin studio or something like that in the woods, I think, where he was doing a lot of stuff. And it just sounded like, I don't know, man, just so cool to like the way that he was approaching it and just to kind of separate himself and take music that way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he made his first. There's like a whole lore behind his first album. He was in a band that like broke up or he got kicked out of or something, and he was feeling defeated by like the music industry, and he went to a cabin in the woods and made his first album, which is still his most successful album.
Wow.
Has all the songs that most people know him for. And it's funny, I've seen him play a couple times, and the first time I saw him play, he didn't play a single song off that album because he was like, I think he specifically said, "I don't really want to talk about the cabin anymore," or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I get. I'm definitely have a higher proclivity to his more recent stuff because it got more electronic and more in my vein. I still love the first album though, for sure. But yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it's probably tough when you get to that point and people have expectations. They just want to hear you do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And you're a person that's working on new stuff and has other things that you want to get out and do. And that you probably need a break at some point from playing Skinny Love over and over again. So
very much so.
Yeah, so how does it's interesting, man, because there's so much acoustic element in this stuff, and it feels, I mean, especially the last one, right, incredibly stripped down. And this stuff that you make, especially the stuff that's coming from the new album soon, is really like more electronic and a little bit, I wouldn't call it like EDM dance floor, but it's definitely a little bit more dance floor oriented. And so I'm wondering, you know, like you make that, how this stuff influences you in that way.
On almost every song, not quite every song on the album, but almost every song, there is heavy acoustic guitar elements on it. And I don't know, I guess I just am a sucker for juxtapositions. I like putting together two things that hypothetically wouldn't work and trying to make them work too.
Yeah, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I feel like I just need something to keep me interested. I get bored pretty easily in life. It's hard for me to like watch a movie even sometimes. So yeah, just anything to keep me interested. Anything to like, I don't know. I like to push myself always and compare to myself in the past. So it's just feels like the natural route for me. I've been playing instruments my whole life, so I'm trying to incorporate them more now than ever.
Are you playing all the instruments on the new album?
Yep.
Cool. And the way you play guitar is a little bit less common, I guess.
I'll demonstrate this for the camera because it is just verbally, it doesn't always make sense. So most people play guitar like this, right? With the low string first and the high string on bottom. They play like this. And I play like this, which is different than a left-handed. I'm left-handed. It's different than a left-handed player because usually they'll either get a left-handed guitar or flip the strings around, so the low one is on top and the high one's on bottom. Yeah, so I didn't have access to that growing up, so I just taught myself how to play upside down.
That's cool, man. Yeah, you're like the acoustic Jimi Hendrix here. So what is that? So yeah, what made you never? Because I feel like, how old were you when you started playing guitar that way?
I was in middle school, I think. I started with drums when I was 4, and I play those left-handed too, but not on a left-handed kid. I play it like this as opposed to like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I've always done things a little differently, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. And so I guess what made you never try to, because I feel like a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you get a chance to get a left-handed guitar, or, you know, you're like, but you just kept it that way. What do you think that was just like, you know, I'm just going to stick with this. It works for me.
I think by the time I realized that was an option, I was already too deep. I had already learned things I liked doing, and left-handed guitars are more rare and more expensive, and I realized it would limit me in more ways than it helped me. And that's not the case for everybody, just for the way my brain works.
Sure.
But that's how it shook out, I suppose.
It's cool, man. I think just naturally, like it's sort of like you're working with a different color than most people are with guitar, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I notice I tend to hover more on the low strings than the high strings compared to a lot of players, which affects you know what I mean, what I end up playing.
Yeah, 100%. And man, what's really cool about that too is you can show up somewhere and you can just always be able to play, right? Because if you leave yourself a left-handed guitarist or you need a drum set up left-handed, then people, like, you know, no drummer is going to want you to move their kit. And if you don't play, if you can't play the left-handed guitar and it's not there, like, you're kind of just going to have to sit and watch, right? So it's kind of a cool way to just be prepared to deal with whatever's going to be there all the time.
I'm happy that I took this route. It limits me in some ways, but less ways than it helps me, I think at least.
Yeah, very cool, man. Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out about that Justin Vernon track we just listened to, I was like, there are parts of that track where the main vocals are completely panned on either side, and then he's just singing like those single note kind of like harmonic like pads, I guess, you know, in the center. And I'm trying to, like, I can't think of any other song, at least off the top, where I've heard that, and it's such an unusual, but really he got such a cool result that he got out of that, right? And it's this really minimal arrangement that now sounds so much bigger with these vocals filling up so much side. It's really wild.
That is definitely a good trick to make a minimal thing sound more full. I know that Elliott Smith used to do that a little bit.
Really? I love Elliott Smith, but man, I need to go back and do you remember which album or any songs in particular?
I think he did it quite a bit on self-titled. I'm pretty sure. Cool.
And yeah, I love that guy, man.
I'm a huge Elliott Smith fan too.
You're a classic sad guy.
You don't say.
Yeah, I mean, as a PSA, if anybody has a friend listening to a lot of Elliott Smith, please make sure you check in with them.
All right.
But I mean, undeniably, so good, man. So good.
Oh, one of the best ever, dude.
Yeah, 100%, man. Anything you want to say about this Justin Hazelton track before we move on?
It's a good song. I like it.
Yeah, right on. All right, man. With that, let's jump into track 3, man. What do you have to round it out for us?
This was probably the most important song in me learning how to produce. Was the first thing I got like really, really obsessed with. Places by Shlomo.
Oh, wow. All right, everybody. Places by Shlomo in 3, 2, 1. Shlomo Places. Tell us about it.
It was the first electronic song I got really obsessed with. I was into playing guitar at the time, pretty big, and I was taken aback at his ability to incorporate acoustic guitar with electronic music and make it feel like it belonged there. Yeah, the song just made me feel something, which I didn't, you know what I mean? At the time, I wasn't familiar with electronic stuff, and I thought electronic music was all dubstep, and that's still not something I'm the most fond of. Well, it can be fun. I like making it sometimes. Playing dubstep shows are fun. I shouldn't shit on it, but I am definitely more partial to like music more like that.
That's what's up, man. When you said that this is the one that got you into production, like, I mean, this took me back, man. I haven't heard this song in a long time. And as soon as you said, I was like, man, it totally made so much of the stuff I've heard from you click, especially the new album. I was like, oh. Because, man, I think what's so cool about this, and I would say this about your music too, man, which is there is this, it's electronic, but there's a lot of cool texture. And then there's like this intimacy where you almost feel like you're in the room in the way that certain things sound. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's a layer of a snare or the way the guitar is recorded where it just feels like very in the room. And that it just feels very close. And that's super cool, you know?
Thank you, man.
100%.
That's a compliment. He's like probably my favorite producer. So, and the thing about him too is every album has been so vastly different than the last. He has like an entirely new sound with every album, which I really appreciate. He pushes himself a lot.
Man, I honestly haven't listened to him in a minute. You're making me want to get back on him because I remember this, man. I used to listen to this kind of stuff years ago, and it's like this is kind of like what made me want to get into producing also. So it's like I don't know, like those low end theory guys and like that adjacent kind of stuff is just there's so much cool stuff there.
It's hard for me to talk about it in a way that doesn't sound. That's the word I'm looking for here. I don't know. It's just music that like, helps you think. It's music that doesn't steer your thoughts. It helps you guide your own thoughts, which I really like.
Wow, so it sounds like it creates space for you in some way.
So
very cool. How did you? So I'm really curious about this, like because I feel like I kind of had a similar experience where there was a time where I was almost anti electronic music, and it sounds like it sounds like maybe there. Yes, I'm curious. Can you talk about maybe how you discovered this, or like kind of what that bridge was, and how you made that transition?
For sure, yeah. So I was a metal guy growing up. In middle school, I only listened to like Metallica.
Wow, yeah,
pretty funny. And then so yeah, I got into it to electronic stuff my senior year of high school. So it was a long time of like metal. I played drums. I was into like Lamb of God and all the metal bands. And then one night, 13 of my friends and I all came over to my house and took shrooms. And my friend Jerry put on this song, not that song, but he put on the song About You by XXX. If you remember
dude,
that one.
Yes. I remember that video too.
Yep.
Wow.
He put that on, and that was the first time I'd ever heard anything in that realm, like melodic, chill, electronic stuff. And it just kind of blew my mind. And from that point, I got a job. I didn't have a job. I got a job at Jimmy John's delivering sandwiches. And I saved up for 3 months so I could buy my first computer that I still have and was using until just recently. It's on the table over there. Yeah, this computer I'm on right now is actually my first nice computer I've ever owned, which is kind of funny.
I got it
like a couple months ago. Yeah, and from there I found Shlomo on YouTube through the related section, I believe, to XX, and that's also how I found Flying Lotus and all the low-end theory guys, Teebs, and just everybody in that vein, pretty much. So shout out Shrooms.
Amazing, man. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up that YYXX song. I'm definitely gonna link that in the notes for this, so anybody who hasn't heard it can go back, because that is such a cool track, man. And it is like
so cool.
Yeah, and people are gonna dig that if you haven't already heard it, man. So much cool space in it. Yeah.
Very minimal. He was a master of making the most out of the least.
Man, just hypnotic, man. So much space. Really cool. Yeah. That's cool, man. I'm glad you rounded it out with something a little bit on the origin story side. That's really cool to hear where that came from.
Yep. I figured I had to.
Yeah, right on. So I don't know, man, you're a really thoughtful dude. So I want to ask you a little bit about, because when we were kind of getting ready for this, you were telling me about how the more time that you spent making music, the more you've learned that like making music is about like kind of finding out who you are and what you're about than it is about making the music. So can you just speak a little bit more on that?
For sure, yeah. I am somebody who has struggled with my mental health a lot over the years. I have a speech impediment that it used to be a lot worse. It was the main reason I dropped out of college. But it can make things difficult from like dating or meeting new people or just ordering food at a restaurant or just really every day I'm reminded of it in some way. And felt like I needed something to process that in a language to speak in that wasn't verbal, so to speak, you know, some way that I could feel fluent in something. And music has really helped me process that a lot because it's been an easier way for me to say that I'm feeling sad or feeling upset or feeling good even, or just whatever it is. And in the past, I felt like I've used music as an escape more so. And I still kind of battle with that sometimes. But now I try to use it as more of a healing process than something to distract me from the way I'm feeling. I try to reflect as I'm making music now rather than using it as a distraction from the way I'm feeling at the time, which has helped, honestly.
How do you catch yourself trying to escape?
If I'm feeling like pissed as I'm making something, I'll notice. If like my main feeling I'm feeling in life is sad, but I'm feeling pissed as I'm making a song, it's probably not the most emotionally productive or healthy thing I've noticed.
Right, that's interesting. So it's like you're not sitting down to do music as work. You're sitting down to make music to convey or to process what it is that you're feeling at the time. So there needs to be like that alignment.
Yeah. Nowadays, at least, I'm definitely more in touch with that. Yeah, I am very privileged and fortunate that I can make money off of doing this, but it's what I would be doing regardless. For a long time, it was the only thing that made me feel good. Now I have some other things, but yeah, it's been there for me through a lot of things. So
that's what's up. So how do you think that you're able to communicate? Because a lot of your music up until now is instrumental. So how do you feel like you've been able to explicitly express feelings through something that doesn't have an explicit message in terms of lyrics?
That's a great question. I feel like music speaks for itself a lot of the time, you know, like we could ask the same thing not to hold myself in high esteem here at all, but we could ask the same thing to like classical composers. What message are you conveying when a lot of the time it's pretty obvious what they're trying to convey if you listen to it, you know, like some things will be obviously very sad, some things will obviously be very happy. And I've just tried to get in touch with my expression as much as I can and not over intellectualizing or over theorizing it too much. You know, I can't read music. I don't know theory really. I just found what works, I guess. Took a long time for what it's worth. Maybe longer than it would have if I didn't know theory, but
interesting. Yeah. So have you ever made something that you felt like was one emotion and then somebody that you know or a fan or somebody listened to it and they completely took a different interpretation of that?
It's funny you say that. My song Cherish, it's like my number one song. I made that after a traumatic experience and I was feeling very sad. But it is a very happy song for a lot of people. It sounds kind of like cutesy or whatever. Sounds like the title. And I don't know, I guess I made it trying to hold on to good memories through a traumatic experience. If that makes sense. And yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel like
sense?
Yeah, for sure. Because we're talking about processing through making music, do you find that you feel different after you've made it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I it's cathartic for sure. If I'm feeling particularly bad emotionally and I make something reflective and intentional, I will feel better having made it. But it's journaling in a way. You put it all on a page, so to speak, and it helps you process it and think about it in a more objective way.
How do you deal with, because it sounds like some of this too is like in terms of being able to make the music that is actually in line with your emotions and catching yourself in and out of those places. How do you deal with like that voice that maybe is self-critical in the process?
I really don't. I just ignore it as much as I can. I feel like I've kind of operated under the guise of quantity equals quality over time. You know, like if I keep at it for long enough, the product over time will get better. So I try not to overthink it too much, or if something's bad, I'll just kind of let it be bad and move on to the next one. And a lot of the time I end up finding things I like that are maybe not technically correct, or a lot of artists would not use through accepting mistakes, or maybe not even mistakes, but just letting the piece be what it wants to be.
Really cool. Man, that phrase "quantity begets quality" is a really big thing for me. And I was reviewing I've been journaling for a few years pretty consistently. And when I first started making music and I was really frustrated with the quality of it, I literally wrote that down every day. And I forgot about it and accidentally I was like moving. And so I found those journals and forgot. I was like, oh yeah, I was literally writing this down every morning before I like went into the studio. And so it made me just because I like found myself in a similar place where I'm like feeling stuck sometimes when it's coming to the production specifically and the writing. So I've been writing that again every morning as a reminder to just like not worry about how good the next thing is, but to just keep making things. And so wondering if you could talk about, because I think there's a lot, I don't know any producer that doesn't struggle with this idea of I don't like what I'm making right now, or at some point getting stuck in like making things precious and holding on to things instead of like letting go and just moving on to the next thing. So I'm wondering if, I don't know if it sounds like the way you just described it, it sounds almost nonchalant. Like, yeah, I just kind of let it go or I ignore the self-critical voice. But if there's maybe anything that you've learned or something you can offer to other producers listening about, just to keep going, even when maybe you've been making things you don't like for more than a day, maybe it's been weeks or a month, and so on.
I think one specific thing I can say that could be helpful is oftentimes if I find myself making something that isn't good, and I won't even say something I don't like, just something that I objectively can acknowledge isn't good, and maybe I make 2 or 3 things that day that I don't like, rather, is not good. If I push myself to make one more thing past the point, the last thing is usually pretty good. And I think, I don't know, it is kind of nonchalant. I don't know. I'm gonna sound like a real wuss here, but I've struggled enough with my emotions that self-doubt isn't something I can allow into. I feel like that's a thing that can apply to most people. Self-doubt isn't a constructive emotion. You can compare yourself to yourself, and that can be constructive, but this like internalized feeling of shame that a lot of producers experience is not productive in any way. It doesn't do anything for us other than make us feel bad.
Dude, that's a bar. Self-doubt is not a constructive emotion. So
It really is not.
wow. Yeah, I love that. I'm definitely going to be using that. So what is a constructive emotion?
Good question. What is a constructive emotion? Excitement obviously is one, but that's kind of a little obtuse, perhaps. Most emotions can be productive or constructive in their own way. It's just it's a matter of being in touch with yourself, I think. We have to, like, there's a way, if you're feeling defeated, there's a way to channel that into music. It's like a matter of feeling like you understand yourself, and know how to use how you're feeling in your life. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I've forced myself to be emotional because I've felt kind of on an island in life. I felt kind of like an outcast, or like it's hard to talk to people or meet people or whatever. But I don't know. I know that's not a unique emotion to me. I know a lot of people feel that way for various reasons. And I think we owe it to ourselves to try to understand ourselves, at least, because when we don't, it comes out on us and on other people. And it's not fair to anybody. God, I'm turning this into therapy right now.
I love it, man. I really do. I appreciate the vulnerability and the honesty around it, honestly. And so what I'm curious about is, like, let's say, because I think in general, producers, especially in this era, there's a lot of solitude involved. And there's almost an expectation that you do everything alone. And I think a lot of people feel that way because a lot of the people that are elevated right now are people that are projected as solo producers, and you don't see all of the stuff behind the scenes. And there are a lot of talented people. And so, but I think, so there's a couple of pieces to this, right? One is, like, I feel like we're kind of just talking a little bit about the sense of loneliness and solitude that comes along with just being alive and as a musician and producer, and getting in touch with that also to be part of your music and not to separate it from your life or from your music, right? And so I think it's one of those things that makes a ton of sense. But I think if somebody's like, well, where do I start? What questions or what has been helpful to you? What have you learned? Whether it's been from other people, whether it's been books or wherever it's been from, that has helped you find whatever that is for you, and deepen that connection with yourself and have a clear understanding of what matters to you and what you're trying to do.
Books are a part of it for sure. Journaling. The last couple years, I've been a lot more intentional about trying to process things in healthy ways. I think being honest with yourself is the biggest thing. That's not really a cut and dry thing, but being honest with yourself, acknowledging your mistakes when they happen, acknowledging the times you've been hurt, and not. I feel like a lot of producers are pretty shy and maybe like overly agreeable, and acknowledging the times that you have been wronged can be empowering. I think honesty really sounds lame, sounds fucking lame, but can be empowering because it forces you to acknowledge hard truths.
That's so you mentioned in making music, for instance, right? If you're making something and you notice that you're feeling angry, right? In a way, it's like there's like a form of dissonance, right, in terms of what's happening. So I'm wondering if outside of production, if there are other, because I'm just, it's very possible that other people are going to experience similar things. And so I'm wondering if there are other ways outside in other situations where you've caught yourself when you realize, oh, I'm doing something, or I'm agreeing to something that maybe I don't actually want to do, or I'm being dishonest in a way. are there any kind of clues that you have in your life that kind of tip you off to, oh, and then help you avoid or correct that direction or decision?
Yeah, I mean, I always, in the moment, I can always acknowledge when I'm agreeing to do something I don't want to. It's just the hard part is holding a boundary, I think. God, I am really turning this into therapy right now. But um yeah, I don't know. I think it just goes back to honesty too. You have to be honest with yourself and what you're capable of
Hmm.
and what you aren't capable of. And um, it's you owe it to yourself to be honest with yourself and what you can and can't do.
Hmm. And it sounds like therapy's played a role in helping you develop
For
together.
sure, for sure. Yeah. I've last handful of years I've been in and out of therapy and done journaling and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Is there anything that you'd offer to people who are maybe in a place where they're in complete denial of its usefulness, its utility as a tool, or who feel like they're considering it and maybe they're on the fence and have never done it? Is there anything that you'd like to share to let people know about your experience or what it's like at all?
Yeah, I mean, I will wholeheartedly say it like saved my life. Something that even with your very close friends and your family, there's still a level of shame with your emotions that can be hard to address. And this person's job to be, unjudging and non-critical of you and just let you talk basically. Um, and it's a very normal thing. I think read a stat that like 90% of people will experience some kind of mental illness at some point. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's kind of
Hmm.
weird if you don't have something wrong. You're
Yeah,
going up there, we're humans, and I think that it's important to realize that it's life is a human experience, and there's nothing to be ashamed of talking to somebody about how you feel, and it can help you process your own life and be a more successful, productive, creative, happy person at the end of the day.
absolutely. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. So if anybody out there's listening and they're thinking about it, continue to think about it, when you're ready, but don't close that door entirely on yourself.
Yeah, but no pressure to anybody, but
Yeah,
you know it's a good thing.
absolutely.
Even if you don't find a therapist that you click with right away,
Mhm.
it won't hurt you, you know?
Yeah, it's a very distinct and different type of relationship than you'll have in your personal life.
Very much so.
Yeah. All right. Well, since we've been keeping it really light so far, we should maybe drop into something a little bit more serious and talk about. I want to talk about your approach to because in general, I feel like it's already come up a little bit. You've mentioned like not knowing theory and not being like kind of classically trained in any kind of way. And so just like your non-traditional approach to music and like to start with mixing, for instance, because I think I alluded to earlier when we were listening to the Shlomo track, you do have this really cool sound that just feels very, it's electronic and there are organic elements and there's this very in the room thing. And so I want to ask you to just speak about the way that you think about mixing. If you want to share any sauce with the people listening, also take it wherever you like.
Yeah. Well, it all like I didn't, me developing my sound, I didn't know how to mix properly. And I kind of just threw everything at the wall and saw what stuck. Over the years, I've learned a little bit through YouTube and stuff like that, which plugins can give me which sound. And, I've learned how to hone it in a little bit, but um, a lot of it too has been recording with not ideal gear, honestly, and just trying to make it work. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, basically. I guess
Mm,
is what it comes down to at the end of the day. Um, and it's all been a process of me trying to figure out a good way of not knowing what I'm doing.
got you. So, what's your approach to mixing a track typically?
It's usually pretty minimal, pretty quick. EQ compression. Um, I I like to cut out a lot of highs in some things, but add highs in others. Like there to be a nice contrast there. Um, like there's a vocal, I'll sweep the highs out of the vocal, but maybe boost the highs on a texture or guitar or something. So it doesn't sound like everything is sweeped. And I tend to overcompress. I know that for sure. I definitely tend to do that. I don't know.
So, but it does sound like you kind of take a less is more kind of approach, and that most of the sounds as you record them or as they enter the project is more or less how they leave the project. That you're not doing a lot to change or distort them.
For the most part, it depends on if I'm trying to make a cerebral IDM
Mm-hmm.
dubstep kind of thing. Then I'll distort sounds. But yeah, my main philosophy is if it's not good coming in, it's not going to be good coming out. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, I mean that's. And then this car going by. And then so from a writing and production perspective, also, how do you think? I don't know. How do you think that your writing and production style? Because it does sound like that you do have a lot of freedom in the way that you approach music, and I think that's a really cool thing to be able to share and give to other people is to be able to make things without the stress of how good it is as soon as you come up with the idea or where it is. And so I'm wondering how you think about approaching, especially because again we talked about you play guitar in a non-orthodox way, and so the way that you're gonna voice chords with your hands is gonna be different. The way that you're gonna strum and just touch the guitar is different. And so I'm wondering how you think about constructing music.
It's a good question. Um, well, I usually start with a melodic element of some kind, almost always.
Mm.
I know some people start with drums, and I've never been able to do that. I feel like it locks it in way too much. It doesn't give it anywhere to go. Because drums are a genre at the end of the day. Drums define a genre. If you put different sounding drums on something, it'll completely change the way the song is. So I tend to leave that until last. Yeah, I don't know. I just start with a melodic thing and explore where my interest leads me, I suppose.
And is that melodic piece a sample? Is it something that you're playing? Is there a particular instrument that usually gets you started?
These days it's been acoustic guitar, but I sampled a lot more in the past. I don't really anymore. I still use some like splice samples and stuff, but
Mm.
it's not a main focus of my production style anymore. Um, there's some plugins and stuff that I honestly just like the stock Ableton operator and analog are pretty great. I can get most of the sounds I need out of those. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of it's more in the philosophy I have behind it rather than the techniques I use. I know chord shapes that I like. I know certain tricks that I like. I know it's just like having a bag of tricks that you can pull from that you like, and it takes time to build that up. But um, yeah, I think just being open to where the song wants to go is a big thing. Like I think musicians are more of a vessel than they are actual creators. You like tap into something larger than us rather than being. I think it's kind of self-important to think we actually create anything because it's just a recycle and hodgepodge of ideas in our brain that come together to make something new. So it's new ideas don't exist, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So how do you think you tap into that?
I don't know, man. It's a good question. Just knowing what I like, being sure of what I like and what I don't like,
Mhm.
and You know, I'm pretty picky. I can be an asshole when it comes to music sometimes.
Yeah, how do you
There's
think
a,
you've
there's,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's a lot I don't like,
Yeah.
which helps.
So, how do you think you've developed your tastes over time?
I've been listening to music for a long time. Mom and dad are in a band together and have been my whole life.
Oh, cool.
So I've been around music my whole life, listening to it, and I don't know. I'm pretty picky about everything, honestly. I don't. It's a lot I don't like,
Yeah.
which I don't. Well, I don't like being in large crowds. I don't like some kinds of movies. I don't. In it, it's no different. That's something that everybody and it kind of clarifies what you do when you're sure what you don't, I think.
No, I love that. Yeah, and I'm wondering, have you always had confidence in that and like this is what's good to me and so this is what's going to be in the music, or have you Sorry, go ahead.
That's probably the only thing I've been confident in my entire life.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Because I agree, man. I think that's an important part. To an extent, we're always just curating. So I think having a strong sense of what sounds good to you is all of it. And I think there's this old Chick Corea clip that I stumbled upon recently, and he's essentially saying just that. He's like, what you need to do is get to a place where what you're playing, sharing is reflective of what your taste is and what you like, and not trying to be somebody else, which is, I think, a really cool way to say, that idea of be yourself. And because if you are, that's honesty, right? Which goes back to some of what we were talking about before. And it is, I think, hard, especially with social media. I think it amplifies that pressure of the sense that this need to conform in a sense to what's working.
Yeah, I mean, people with social media, there's this pressure to be successful that it's like there's so much comparison, and it's like it's easy to feel bad if you're not doing as well as you would like to in certain ways, but doesn't matter at the end of the day. Success isn't a metric of, and I feel like happiness is the more important thing. Self-expression, all that. Yeah.
How do you define success for yourself?
Being able to express myself and support myself financially. I don't even need to be exceptionally wealthy or anything. I just want to be expressed and have people in my life that I love, I suppose.
Very cool.
Yeah. A little simple, but it's true.
I mean, so you got the new album coming out, Spider in the Window, and by the
It's
time,
called the world pushed against you.
oh wow, excuse me,
Spider in the Window is a name of a song on it.
it's my bad. So one more time, the album is called,
The world pushed against you.
and so by the time this episode drops, it will either the album will be about to drop or will already be out. So go check it out. And I guess, can you tell us a little bit where that title comes from?
Yeah. Um, kind of comes from Albert Camus writing. I
Mm,
kind of like reworked it a little bit from that. The way I see it, it's like in life, there's like your internal experience and your external experience, and life is where they meet. And it's like it's all in how you approach the world around you. Nobody can live just internally or externally. They'll lose themselves if they live externally. They'll suffer greatly and be selfish individuals if they live internally. So
cool.
it's all in like how you approach where the two meet. I think.
Mm, very cool. And so, I mean, I think I've mentioned this a little bit earlier, but sonically and stylistically, there's a very big shift if you're somebody who's been listening to you previously. So, do you want to speak to that at all? Maybe why you decided to do that, and what you're hoping to get out of it? Or is this the first of many to come? Is this just a brief departure, etc.?
Yeah, I think so. I've made a lot of like lo-fi beats in the past, and well, that was nice and fun while it lasted. I think that world has been, I'm gonna use harsh language here, but like violated
Hmm.
by the money machine it's become. Labels that prioritize the sound of their label over artistic expression, even with a lot of the artists that help develop the labels and help develop the like lo-fi sound. This is something I've heard from many people that they make a project and submit it to this label they've worked with before, and it gets rejected because it doesn't sound like the label. And I understand that that's sometimes a thing with labels is they want a certain sound, but it's gotten so uh dumbed down and simple that that's just not something that makes me feel creatively expressed. It's not something I want to really participate in right now that much. No hate to anybody that is feeling expressed by that. Not for me right now. I like dance music, obviously, burial, quartet, loading points, all the good ones. And I never really gave my all at making a dance album until now. So this has been me trying to do that, but have it be authentically me. Have it still sound like me, but kind of push myself in ways. And it's just better for performing. I enjoy performing. Better for that. So, you know.
Yeah, right on. How do you deal with that, knowing that there's such a paved path, I guess, in terms of being able to, if you can, and you're capable of making playlistable music, you're positioned in a way where you could do that. How do you, yeah, I guess, how do you navigate conflict? Here's a very clear path forward. Part of my success and part of my living a life that's comfortable and fulfilling is just being able to take care of myself, and to still go this way of what matters the most to me is making music that is what I want to make and is truer to me.
Yeah. I think part of it is that I and a lot of other producers feel defeated by it. It's basically like a roll of the dice. Anytime you drop a lo-fi beat, hoping you get on whichever playlist. And most of the time, it does not happen, no
Hmm.
matter who you are, unless you have good connections, which is fine. I'm not like hating on anybody for knowing the right person, but it's just it gets exhausting trying over and over and over again to maybe be successful 10% of the time
Hmm.
when I can release something that I actually enjoy, that makes me feel creatively expressed, and that I feel more successful through that than I do getting a couple 100,000 plays on a song.
Right on. I guess, how do you pass that on to other artists that are like, because I think there is a lot of it, especially if you're newer or you're coming up, there's sort of this sense that if your numbers aren't a certain level, that your music isn't worthwhile. So how do you encourage other people to, everybody's obviously like, chase what you want to chase and what matters to you, but just also offering that, I don't know, that other perspective or another way to look at it at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good question. It can be hard to feel confident in your decisions if you haven't experienced a level of success that you want to experience
Hmm.
before. But it's all transient. It's all changing all the time. It's just I think you can really only compare to yourself, compare to past versions of yourself. If you feel better about what you're doing now than what you were in the past, I think that that's the best metric for success at the end of the day, feeling creatively expressed.
So, is there anything from this particular album? Are there feelings that you're hoping to communicate that come through that you're hoping people pick up?
Yeah. it's kind of all over the place. There's moments of, I don't know if frustration is the right word, but the song with Gold Panda called Destroyer is probably the longest song I've ever made. It's like 7 minutes almost. And it feels like, I don't know if anger is the right word either, but like um like a seething acceptance of a painful situation,
Mm,
like being being hurt but not necessarily being sad about it. Just like, I don't know. And there's lots of others. Pollen is one that's like pretty happy at the end of the
yeah.
day. It's like a pretty cheerful sounding song. I think though what I'm more interested in is hearing what other people get out of it. I I'm always interested to hear the people's experiences with the music, what it makes them feel. I think what how it makes me feel at the end of the day is kind of irrelevant in a way.
Mm. Yeah, sort of like everybody gets to have their own experience with it, even if it's very different, and it's likely to be a very different experience than the person who made it. Yeah, very cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking because the Shlomo track we were listening to earlier, right? I mean, that's like a 5 minute plus track, and in that genre of music, and for you to drop a 7 minute track, is there any point where you're like, well, this is too long, or makes you be like, this has to be 7 minutes because it's so common, especially in streaming now, to think about length in a very conscious way, and it's usually to lean shorter, sort of like in the same way that the radio impacted recorded and released music. So I'm curious about how
Um,
you feel about that.
I felt like that song had to be that long because it was communicating a lot. I wanted it to feel like a journey. There's like it slowly ramps up in BPM, basically the whole time. It goes from like 50 to 100, I think, over the whole song, and then at the end it drops off again. So I wanted it to feel like a crescendo kind of. Um, a lot of my songs are short. I totally agree that brevity can be good also.
Mm-hmm.
But I just try to do whatever the song wants me to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, not try to force it in any way, one way or the other. It kind of tells you what it needs.
Yep, yep. And I'm just a huge Cold Panda fan.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to kind of take the song as far as it could go.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a cool low key experimental thing. So I hope people take that away, just to have your BPM changing throughout the course of a song, especially in electronic music, right? We're not talking about a band that maybe naturally shifts here and there just as a result of playing live, but a really deliberate choice to have something evolve that is a really, I don't know, deliberate choice. And that's really cool, man. So yeah, absolutely. And yeah, man, I know that you are a big Gold Panda fan, so I wanted to ask, like, what is it like to like release a project and have like somebody you've just legit been a fan of for years to like be somebody that's now a collaborator?
Oh, it's crazy, dude. There have been a handful of people I've worked with in the past where it's been like, wow, that's really cool. But he is somebody I've listened to. He was probably one of my first five producers I got really into, along with like Shlomo and Flylo and people like that. So it's pretty wild. A friend of mine, Colin, that passed away a couple years ago, showed me his stuff in high school, and um, it's like in a way, it's kind of a nice way for me to process that as well, because it's like 10 years can do a lot if you're consistent. And yeah, I don't know. It's cool. I've listened to his stuff when I've felt good and bad and everywhere in between. So it's pretty cool. I toured a little bit with him last year also, which was a pretty exciting experience to be able to watch one of my favorite producers every night play.
Yeah, that's wow, that's so cool, man. Yeah, congrats, man. Well deserved. I'm sure it's just the first of many.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything else you want to say about the record? Anything that you want to mention or point people to as it's coming out?
I'm bad at stuff like this, but I hope you like it if you listen to it.
There you go. And we'll certainly be linking to it in the show notes. So please go check out Shrimpnose. And with that, man, is there places that you prefer people connect with you to follow along with what's going on?
Wherever's easiest for you. I don't really. It's the difference between Spotify or Apple or this or that. It's all
Yeah.
just a couple cents at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't just if you like it, I hope you listen to it. That's about it.
And where should people follow you on, like, on socials?
Yeah, you can do it. I guess I'm most active on Instagram.
Hmm.
So there, TikTok, I'm kind of active, even though I kind of hate it.
And the handle? What's your handle on Instagram? The one and only.
Yes, I
At
got it
Shrimpnose.
early.
At Shrimpnose. Yeah. All right, man. So with that, I have like a few of these like quick hits. Feel free to be like as short or as long as you want to be. What's your doll of choice?
I use Ableton Live.
There you go. Your 3 favorite albums.
Whoo! God dang. Shit. Fucking A. Okay. God. Let's see. Bad Vibes by Shlomo has to be in there just because of the level of influence. Probably 22 a Million by Boney Bear. And then for the last one, I'll say Self-Titled by Elliott Smith. Put that in there. Yeah. So those 3 I feel good about.
That's a nice spread. I like that.
Thank you.
Best music related purchase you've ever made for $100 or less.
Great question. $100 or less. Let me look around my studio right now. $100 or less. I think it was around $100, and I technically didn't buy it. It was gifted to me, but this Yamaha FG Junior guitar. It's like a little baby guitar. It's cool. It looks like a toy,
Nice.
but I just love the way it plays so much and the way it sounds. The fretboard is pretty small, which makes it a little bit easier to play. Yeah, I'd say this thing is probably it's probably a little over 100, but
No, I hear you.
yeah, it's the best I could do probably.
We'll allow it. Is that what we're hearing? Is that what we're hearing on the new album?
Basically, I think exclusively this.
Wow. For anybody listening, if you go to the video, you can't see that he held up the guitar for us if you're curious about what it looks like. Something you bought and never used.
Ooh. I have a band guitar that I don't use that much. I do use it sometimes, but it's like a banjo that's strung like a guitar, so it has 6 strings and it doesn't have the weird peg on the side of the neck. So since I play upside down, I literally can't play a banjo regularly because the peg would get in the way of that. But yeah, it sounds great, but it does make stuff twangy. And I don't always. I like it sometimes, but
yeah,
I'd say that's probably my least used instrument. I think.
Right on. One habit that gets in the way of your music.
Good question. So the last 12 years, I was a very heavy weed smoker, and I actually just stopped like 6 days ago. I think I haven't smoked since, which has been nice. My mental health has improved so far. Excited to see where it goes. It was kind of weird because it was like a big part of me being productive. So I'm still figuring out how to be productive, but not have like a ritual surrounding my productivity. But I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, what inspired the change, man? Congratulations, man. That's a big move.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Just mental health stuff. I haven't been feeling amazing lately, and physical health stuff too. I was starting to have some weird sensations in my body. I just wanted to try and be healthy.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I love that you bring that up. I just think that's something that's a common thing,
Yeah. I think people think weed is so harmless, And I won't say it's the most harmful because it definitely isn't, but if
Mm-hmm.
it's used as a crutch, obviously not good.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the perspective on that. And again, man, throughout this whole thing, just the transparency and honesty about all of it's been really cool to hear.
I'm happy it doesn't feel annoying.
No, man, it's
you
really
know,
great.
yeah. I
It's
feel too open sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's for all people. It doesn't matter.
nah, man, we're totally here for it, man. Something you wish more people understood about music or production.
That it's a process that if you want to do it professionally, it requires a lot of commitment. Like it will entail a lot of heartbreak, also like a lot of disappointment, uh, whether from opportunities or getting in the way of your personal relationships or you know just anything like that. It can really help you, but at the same time, you have to be sure that you wouldn't be more comfortable in a more regular lane of life. If
Mm,
that makes sense. It can be really great and it can help you a lot, but in the same way, it can be incredibly frustrating. It can be disappointing. It can be a lot of things. And you just have to make sure you're up for it if it's something you're signing on for.
for sure. And the PSA that music as a hobby is still a very valuable thing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
And
Pursue it as a hobby
yeah,
no matter what. Like if
yeah.
you enjoy it, you should do it. I shouldn't turn people off of it. But tempering your expectations of it being like your living is important,
Mm-hmm.
I think also.
Absolutely, man. And I like how you mentioned sort of I feel like it's sort of talking a little bit about maybe like kind of, your comfort zone. Maybe you'd just be easier to be in this place. And I'm wondering how you identify discomfort zones of value. Like this is a place where I'd be uncomfortable, but is worth it to go there. Versus ones like I would be really uncomfortable there and that's not a place I should explore or go.
I think if there's an end goal in mind, is the
Mm,
difference. Like for example, I was in college for my majors were psychology and Spanish, and I really liked them and I was very interested in them. But at the end of the day, the realm of jobs were things that were very verbally oriented, which would
mm,
have been hard for me.
mm,
So I realized that the discomfort wasn't leading me in a place that would have made it worth it at the end of the day. I
mm-hmm,
think there's discomfort can be a good thing. It can be good to push through things, but just keep an end goal in mind. Make sure you're working towards something, not just putting yourself in a situation that sucks.
for sure. That's a really cool way to look at it, man. Don't let something, if there's something that you want or you're interested in, don't let a challenge or discomfort or some sort of obstacle stop you from pursuing it. Someone else you'd like to hear from on Producer Head.
Chris Cole,
Why Harris Cole?
he's one of my best friends, and his perspective is very interesting on things. I think he has a unique perspective. He has a lot to offer. Um,
Cool.
he's a smart guy.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, I'll have to link up. Favorite movie?
I'll have to give you a couple answers here. I just watched Requiem for a Dream again, which is like so sad. I don't know if I can say that's actually my favorite one. Um, very good movie, but just so fucked up. Uh, the Wrestler actually might be my favorite one. Have you seen that?
Yeah, the Mickey Rourke.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. I'd say The Wrestler. It's probably my favorite one. In a way, I relate with it a lot because it's about somebody committing to something that can be self-destructive, um, just because they have love for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the thing you love destroying you at the end of the day.
That was a good one, man. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh, so good.
And wow, yeah, Requiem. I don't know if anybody listening hasn't seen it. Just prepare yourself before you watch it. It's not like a Sunday night movie.
Don't watch it with your kids or your parents.
Oh man. And then what character from a book, movie, or show do you most identify with?
That's a good question. Book, movie, or show? I might have to say The Wrestler again. Just because I'm trying to break through this right now, but in the past I have been overcommitted to situations that weren't good for me just because I love the way it made me feel sometimes, you know?
Mm,
Whether it was like even with music, I've uh used it as a distraction sometimes and not kept up with my day-to-day things I had to do, whether it's fucking paying my health insurance on time or stupid shit like that. Trying not to let it be a distraction anymore from things that I have to, trying to break through them. But yeah, to answer the question, probably Mickey Rourke's character in The Wrestler.
right on, man. That's awesome, man. We've made it to the end. I appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to say or share with the people before we get out of here?
Thanks for listening. I hope I didn't dump on you guys too much.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd be surprised if anybody felt that way. I know that I don't, and I really do. Thank you for your time and for being on here and for just being so honest and transparent about like what it's like to be you. And I know it's been really cool to hear from me, and I'm sure other people feel the same. So thank you so much, man.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so this concludes another episode of Producer Head. This has been Toru, and in a way, so are you. Peace.